Well, here we are, we're on the Eurostar, and there are 32 of us on the way to Brussels. We've all made it so far, and we're just about to go in the tunnel under the sea, so it should be quite exciting. Okay, I'm here with Daniel. Where are you from, Daniel?
From Halifax.
And what are you looking forward to on this trip to Brussels?
I'm looking forward to seeing around the European Parliament and meeting the MEPs and see what they do.
And is there anything in particular you want to find out about the European Parliament?
I want to see how the different institutions work and how the different countries get involved and work together.
Right. And why are you coming on this trip to Brussels?
Because I'm going to go and see how the European Parliament works and hopefully see some of the European Parliament in action. Also to meet with the Party of European Socialists and see some of the work that they do, and also to go and speak some French, practice my French as well.
Yep, we're relying on Yilmaz to translate at the train station. I'm here with Drew. Can you just introduce yourself, Drew? Where are you from?
Hi, I'm Drew from Sheffield, and I'm underneath the channel right now. I'm disappointed that you can't see fish out of the window.
We've got the giggles now. I'm with Sarah. Can you just introduce yourself and say where you're from?
I'm Sarah and I am from Shipley in West Yorkshire.
And what are you looking forward to in Brussels?
Beer, basically. Oh, and the European Parliament, obviously.
I'm Jumpy Allardyce and I'm the Secretary General of the European Parliamentary Labour Party. And I've been talking to the young people from Yorkshire and Humber and talking a little bit about why I think Europe is important. And I began by telling them about the time I was in Bosnia just after the civil war there, after all the killings that took place there. And I was on live television and somebody said, "Where are you from?" I had about 10 seconds to get back and have something coherent. And I said, well, my grandmother was Turkish, my grandfather Greek, my family is Jewish, my parents are Italian, I was born in Egypt, my wife is Irish, and my children are English. And of course, they laughed a bit. But it is serious because it's a story of the war. And a lot of my family were actually murdered in the concentration camps of Auschwitz. So Europe to me is very important because Europe has meant that we've stopped killing each other, we can live in peace, we can travel from country to country. But in a way, it's also more than that. And what we have to realize is to deal with the big issues of today, whether it is climate change, whether it is pollution, care of the environment, whether it is to do with jobs and security and actually having our families looked after. We can't do that as one country working on its own. Much better, much stronger if we work with other countries, and being in the European Union is what makes it possible for us to do that.
Well, we made it to Brussels, the beating democratic heart of the EU, and we just had a talk with John Fordham to go over some of the history of the EU and the way it works. So we've learnt lots, learnt all about the role of the Parliament, the Commission and the Council of Europe, and we're just about to have another talk with Linda McAvan. It's been a good morning so far.
Here I am with David from York, and what have you been doing today, David?
Today we met a few different MEPs. We had a talk from the person responsible for English people doing trips around the Parliament, and he explained how the Parliament works, how the different institutions interact with each other, and we've also been to a debate on Gaza and how Europe should fund the kind of humanitarian, how it should fund respond to the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, which is very, very interesting. All the leaders of the various European Parliament parties spoke, which was very interesting, kind of listening to the kind of different takes that they all had on the current crisis. And I mean, all the MEPs are just leaving that debate now. So yeah, it's been a pretty full day. We spoke to a few different MEPs, and they all kind of gave us a different look on Brussels and Europe and kind of how it all works and what everyone does within that institution, within those institutions. So it's very interesting.
Hi Ian, can you just introduce yourself and say where you're from?
Yeah, my name's Ian Adderley and I'm living in Leeds.
And what issue is particularly important to you?
Well, I think an issue that's important to me but also to lots of other people is the issue of fair trade and the promotion of fair trade in order to tackle global food poverty and poverty in general.
And what activity has been happening in the European Parliament around fair trade in this building?
Well, one thing that I've noticed while I've been around is that at the cafes and everywhere else, fair trade products, it's only really fair trade products that are sold here. And I believe one of the reasons for that was one of the Yorkshire Humber MEPs, McAvan, who chairs the All Parliamentary Group on fair trade. And I believe it's because of her efforts that this is one of the things that's been done and lots more.
And what do you think the European Parliament's role is in climate change?
I think it's a really important one because they form sort of a cohesive group around various 27 countries that all have to affect with climate change, and since they can have legislation that makes sure that climate change is top of the agenda or subsidies go towards methods of preventing climate change, that they can put those laws through the European Parliament. So their role is key.
Well, here we are in a restaurant on one of the most beautiful squares in Europe on the Grand Place in Brussels. The group has visited the European Parliament and are now relaxing in the evening. But there's frankly no substitute to coming out here and seeing how it really works. Not what you read in the newspapers back home, but how the European Parliament actually operates, how 27 countries, members from 27 countries can work together, cross-cultural differences, across political differences, to try and work out what the best solutions are for Europe in those subjects where we need common European solutions. Young people coming out interested in politics, it's great to see them here, and I think they will have found this trip more than worthwhile.
Well, we're just at the end of a 3-day visit of 30 odd young people to the European Parliament. They've come from all over Yorkshire and North Lincolnshire, and I think they've enjoyed their trip. When they came here on the first day, they were saying they didn't know much about what MEPs did or what Europe did. And after 2 or 3 days, they seem to have picked up that there's a lot of important work that goes on here, particularly on things like climate change, where they heard from one of my Danish colleagues who put very starkly the problems his country, as a northern country, was facing, and how the European Union's leading the world in tackling climate change. So I think it's important to invite young people to come and see for themselves. They're the future of our country and our continent, and so I hope they've enjoyed themselves and also learnt something along the way.
Being here in the European Parliament has made us realise that in the areas where the European Union has competence, like workplace rights, like the environment, the decisions made here make a real difference. And on the 4th of June this year, people in Yorkshire will get the chance to vote for who represents them here in this Parliament and who makes those decisions for them.